Did you know there are 2 F1 games coming out this year? Of course, there's Codemasters F1 2022 arriving sometime around July, but now Frontier are also joining the F1 party with F1 Manager 2022. F1 Manager 2022 sees you taking on the role as team principal rather than driver, with every decision you make impacting the team's hunt for glory. While this will be a new experience for Formula 1 fans, football fans have had a very successful managerial game to dive into. Football Manager 2022 got a stellar review over at our sister site Real Sport 101. So what could the new F1 Manager game learn from the most successful sports management game out there? I'm Mark from Racing Games, and today I want to talk about 3 things F1 Manager 2022 must learn from the Football Manager series. Now, both myself and our very own Toby D are long-time players of Football Manager, with my own personal experience going all the way back to 2005, so we believe we're in a good place to make these recommendations. Okay then, let's get to it. In Football Manager, you can go 100 years into the future and even beyond if you want to. In fact, as of February 2021, the Guinness World Record stands at 333 seasons, set by Sepp Heidel from Germany. With a dynamic player development style that lets former players move into coaching and manager roles, and a whole raft of CPU-generated new footballers that come in and develop, players can inhabit a living, breathing universe. F1 Manager needs to offer the same kind of longevity to players. With the current FIA Formula 2 and Formula 3 drivers hopefully in the game, there is certainly the potential that we will be able to get deep into a career and watch established names like Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel retire, while the likes of Liam Lawson, Dennis Hauger and Arthur Leclerc blossom. The hope is that as those F2 and F3 drivers gain promotion, they are developing as drivers, and newly generated drivers are filling the empty seats in F3. After all good Football Manager players love a good regen. Before we move on, have you subscribed to Racing Games yet? Just one click and you're on the Racing Games grid. Oh! Along with managing the running of a team and the hiring and firing of staff, team principals also have to make sure everyone is getting on and pulling in the same direction. Now of course in F1 this is not an easy task. Sometimes team principals have to sacrifice the happiness of one driver in order to meet the needs of the other. Just ask Christian Horner all about that one. In Football Manager, you need to keep players happy and keep your promises to them to sell them or give them game time. If you don't, then team morale plummets and the results suffer. It would be amazing to see something similar in F1 Manager. That could come from promising equal treatment to drivers, but if you start prioritizing one over the other, morale within the team suffers. Pit stops get longer, qualifying laps are less consistent. That sort of thing would be a great challenge to overcome for players. It won't be long before one of your drivers shouts multi-21 at the other in the cooldown room. It could also be done through staff management. Failing to provide pathways to promotion should frustrate staff members, while team financial struggles ought to lead to promising staff jumping ship to other teams. Anything that makes you feel embedded in a team is going to be key to making F1 Manager a good game. Football Manager does a great job of making your tactical tweaks and words of encouragement impactful. Every single match is procedurally generated by the AI, meaning every decision made can have an impact. Many times the players I've brought off the bench score the winner in the last minute, or a player begging for match time gets sent off just minutes into a game. Without dwelling too much on the latter, this makes the game far more reactive to the player. F1 Manager must do the same. Quite how race day will play out we don't yet know. A team principal isn't that actively involved in races, with lead engineers talking to drivers and head strategists deciding when pit stops happen. Will those decisions fall to you in F1 Manager? We hope so, as that will give plenty to do in races along with everything behind the scenes between race weekends. Football Manager does allocate a lot of behind the scenes roles to the manager, such as negotiating contracts, hiring and firing staff, and even controlling scouting. There's no reason F1 Manager can't do the same. Players want to control the racing, manage driver strategies, and even develop the car, so I can imagine all these roles will be in the game as standard. So players will need to ensure their decisions are as right as possible. That means avoiding pit stops just before a safety car a la Sergio Perez, telling one driver to hold position to secure a famous 1-2 just like Lando at Monza, and of course bringing your lead driver in for slicks just before a red flag restart. We're looking at you on that one, Bono. Before I wrap up this video, I also want to talk about Motorsport Manager. Yes, I know, again, but hear me out here. Motorsport Manager is definitely the race management game F1 Manager 2022 needs to be. Considering both Football Manager and Motorsport Manager are published by Sega, you can tell that one inspired the other. So by taking inspiration from both Football Manager and Motorsport Manager, F1 Manager will tick all the right boxes when it comes to keeping the players happy. Hiring and firing drivers, mechanics, designers and pit crew is all part and parcel of Motorsport Manager. And that's before we even get into things like signing sponsorship deals, choosing parts suppliers and race strategies. Motorsport Manager breaks race management down into easy to manage sections, and is a very involved yet fun game to play. If Frontier can replicate even a small part of that in F1 Manager, they will have a hit on their hands for sure. Now I've said the word manager a lot today, so much so that it doesn't even feel like a word anymore, so I will wrap things up now. Do you agree with our picks? Are there any other ideas that we've missed out? And are you looking forward to telling Bottas to step aside in your game? Let us know in the comments below. For now though, thanks for watching. I've been Mark from Racing Games, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and now I'm off to map out my strategy for my first season in F1 Manager. Step 1. Secure a Ferrari engine. Step 2. Poach Red Bull's head of aerodynamics. Step 3. Profit.